Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Happy Father's Day to you fathers-to-be. Happy Father's Day to all of you that have fathers or have had fathers, which I think now I've included all of you the last time I checked. Happy Father's Day. And let me tell you something. This is not going to be a snarky video about me extolling the aspects of marketing, that Father's Day is a marketing tool, that it was invented by Hallmark to sell you more cards. Heck, I'm not even going to talk about Father's Day in relation to products. You know, the best Father's Day gifts. You know, what is the best all-brown shirt or the Omega watch? Oh, roll, watch check. I feel like that's obligatory now. I'm not going to do all that. Imagine the thumbnail, top 007 items for your fathers for Father's Day. I mean, it writes itself. It would have been perfect for my channel. No, I decided to do something a little bit more heartfelt. It is Father's Day after all, and I'm going to be talking about fatherhood in relation to the James Bond franchise. And I've said something before in my podcast and in my videos that I truly feel from my heart that family is the root of our James Bond passion. And therefore family is a way to find us all back to James Bond. You know, when the franchise has gone quiet, when we're sort of looking for information, family is at the core of binding us together, bonding us together. And I want to sort of spell this out and philosophize a little bit about this. And I'm going to start with my story about fatherhood and my father. So my father was a very busy, successful entrepreneur, started his own business, incorporated it, integrated it with Datsun and Nissan, did forklifts and pallet trucks and things like that. He built multiple businesses, did very well in the stock market, very successful. Did he always have a lot of time to play with little baby David in the backyard and throw a ball? No. Weep, weep. I turned out okay. Don't cry me a river. But there was a bond connection. There was a bonding, and it started in a rainy day in Atlantic City where we couldn't go to the beach, as you do in Atlantic City, so he took the entire family to this little movie called The Spy Who Loved Me. And I saw craziness, and I fell in love. Bought me my first Corgi car, and then I was ruined from there. And then what he did was, he took the time proactively. Whenever there was a James Bond film on, he would say, hey, David, James Bond film. So I discovered just Connery and Roger Moore and just sort of grew up with it. And I'm here today with this because of my father. Now, my story is not unique. In fact, I dare say if you're watching this right now, your story may also reflect and replicate mine. You were probably introduced by a family member. Now, there are some people out there, I get it, that found Bond by happen chance. The heck is happen chance, David? Look it up. But maybe you did. Maybe you came across the GoldenEye game and said, what is this? Oh, wow, there's a movie behind it? Maybe you were watching on TV and said, who is this dashing, charming guy? I'll investigate. But chances are, especially depending on your culture, Bond was introduced to you by your family. And now listen, I could play the equality game here. I get it, but it's my channel. So I'm going to say it was probably your dad. It was probably your father that brought everybody in, your brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, and said, you know something? I loved Bond as a kid. From a nostalgic standpoint, I'm going to bring you in as my family members. I want to share in that nostalgic love and appreciation of the world of James Bond. And we were introduced to these. So we have a debt. Yeah, I'll call it a debt. I ain't afraid. A debt of thanks to our fathers, especially on this Father's Day, to thank them for most of them being the introduction to Bond. In fact, put in the comments below, were you introduced to James Bond through your father? I'd like to know, and I'd like to know how, and I will read every single one of them. But let's move it on, because I think in a lot of cultures like British, the UK, I hear a lot of stories about holidays. And this is a very interesting thing because I think fathers, since we're celebrating a holiday today of Father's Day, would use holidays to create these experiences and events around Bond. They would be on ITV, or they would be around Christmas time. Here in the States, it would be around Thanksgiving. You would start to watch the Bond films, and fathers would be like, hey, after you're done with the tryptophan and the turkey, get over here. We could watch football. Not a football guy. Not a football guy. What's a football? Would you like to watch James Bond? And they would introduce us during these holidays. So what happens when Dad brings us into the world of James Bond excitement, this triumphant moment during the holidays? We start to align psychologically with the holidays, family, and James Bond. German 3. This trinity, if you will, of wonderful experiences. And what it does for us, it starts moments in our brains of carrying that forward, this psychological safe space of excitement, because we attribute James Bond to these impactful moments, these very special moments, these memorable moments in our history, in our experiences with our family, which can be so special. So already our dads are not only introducing us to James Bond, they're showing us how James Bond should be an impactful experience. Like, oh, I don't know, going to the theater instead of just seeing it online or on a TV, but actually going to a theater and experiencing the surround sound of the James Bond franchise. Now let's talk about surround sound, because I'm doing this in front of my collection, amidst everything that creates the surround sound of my collection and years of passion around James Bond. So we have to talk about my own fatherhood in this respect. Now, I told you about my dad passing down the Bond blood or genes to me. Did I pass that down to my kids? Now, one of two things was going to happen with my kids. Either they were going to see all this and go, holy cow, we are revolted, repulsed, and I need to run as far away from James Bond as possible. Or they were going to be like, you know what, we embrace this. And I think, because they're not here to deny it, I think they're leaning a little bit more towards the embracing. And I don't mean that they're fans or fanatics or as passionate as me. That would be a tough benchmark to reach. No, what I mean by this is they have taken the time, because they know it's special to me, to watch the films, to experience those Bond impact moments. For example, I've done reviews with them where they talk about the films. And there's one thing about fatherhood and James Bond that I want to point out. When you are experiencing, as a father, something with James Bond, it's not just about enjoying the movie. It is an exploration of your relationship to your child, whether it's a child, a teenager, or an adult child. And by the way, for those of you that have adult children, offspring, fruit of my loin, you know this to be true, that they're never stopping being your children. So if I say children, I mean even when they're in their 30s, 40s, and beyond. It's an exploration. For example, you could be watching a film like Octopussy and you could be like, and all of a sudden your offspring loves it. That happened to me, where Octopussy is their favorite film. Moonraker they love. They love the campiness and the fun and the gooey pizzaness of James Bond, where I sort of like the Daniel Craig and the Sean Connery and the sleekiness and the sneaky Bond moments and the more serious aspects. So it's a way for us to have a conversation. It's a conversation starter that you drop into the room and say, well, why do you like that? What are the aspects that you like? Was there anything that offended you? Was there anything that you felt that you wanted to emulate and take into your own life? These are conversations that a father can have with their offspring. And by the way, I'm saying father. Please, no hate mail. We have lots of wonderful female Bond fans. This could be used for mother, uncle, aunts, nephews. Put whatever proclivity you want, whatever title. This isn't about titles. This is about relationships. And it is Father's Day, so give me this, will you? Thank you. But the other thing that I notice that happens is when they share these types of experience, it's almost like a rite of passage. There's a lot of discussion in the Bond community with fathers talking to each other saying, what is the first Bond film I'm going to show my son or daughter? What is it going to be? Or niece, nephew, etc. What is the first one? What is the age group that's most appropriate? But what is the one that you're going to say you're being very dramatic, David, here, but hear me out. It's almost like when a duck is born, hatched, and it imprints itself on the first creature it sees, the first other duck. It's kind of like that with James Bond. When a father shows their child a James Bond film, sometimes that first movie is so indelible. It leaves such a permanent tattoo on your psyche that sometimes it's your favorite. What do they say? Your first love is your most special and messiest and awkward. I don't know, not the last two, but the first one is true. It's often your most special. So it is the same with James Bond, and fathers have, I'm going to say it, a responsibility and obligation to make sure that their children's trajectory of James Bond is a good one, is a positive one. And I always try to press positivity. I just had a video that blew up as far as views and comments on, are we played out? Is the Bond franchise dead? And of course I ended it, if you watch the damn thing, by saying, of course we're not. Look at all the great stuff we have. So it is our obligations as fathers to try to create a positive experience with James Bond. Our chances are our fathers did the same thing. Why wouldn't we do the same thing? You know, it's very easy in social media today for fathers and children to get into this whole kind of curmudgeon-y, warring thing. And no, make it a positive aspect. And the other thing is too, and this is one that I love, and I'm about to do something that I think pays this forward. I see a lot of families, especially fathers, taking their children to James Bond events, James Bond experiences. It could be a museum experience. It could be like a concert, cue the music, or 007 Sound of Music. I see a lot of that. Families doing these things together, and not just the isolated James Bond fan going out into the wild. I see a lot of them going on locations and doing vacations where at the epicenter, at the core, James Bond was here on the tracks of 007. And what am I doing for Father's Day as this video comes out? I'm not here. This was pre-recorded. Pop. Sorry to destroy the magic of this not being live, but here on Father's Day, you know where I am? I'm thousands of miles away from my kids. I'm in the south of France enjoying a Bond event. And this was a really bad example because I did not bring my kids with me. A better Father's Day I'll never have. I'm kidding. Oh my gosh, stop it. But these are the types of things I see people doing. They're bringing them to the gather-alls and they're saying, like, look at this, you know, son and daughter, look at what I've, and lo and behold, the craziest thing happened in this high-tech world that our kids are in. They suddenly put everything down and they're experiencing the very simple, tactile joy of being in person and enjoying the world of James Bond. And then a lot of the times I hear that the fathers then go back after these events and locations and they show them the films. But it's not just the films, is it? Because as a father, I think you also have an obligation to say, this may come as a shock to you, son or daughter. Wait for it. Buckle up. James Bond didn't start as a movie or a video game or a YouTube channel. It started as books by Ian Fleming. Here's a book I think you're going to like. Imagine that heirloom moment, the heirloom moment when a father passes an Ian Fleming tattered paperback that smells all musty and pulpy and has sand in it from one of your trips from before the child was even born potentially. And they get in there, the sand is falling out and they're reading this and they're like, wow, I kind of see what my dad sees in this. This is great. Or, wow, I need to talk to my dad about this. Again, it's a way to explore each other. It's a way that I think we've lost a little bit nowadays of exploring family members through each other's passions and likes. And on this Father's Day, I don't know if you could tell, I feel pretty passionate about making sure that, I keep calling it an obligation, but it is fun. It's exciting. Our excitement has a certain trajectory that seeps into the next generation And by the way, this wouldn't be the Bond Experience channel without me bringing up one other aspect, of course, and that is collecting. And I know it's a certain type of individual that collects. It's that whole trophy find that, but fathers have a particular proclivity, adoration for collecting things. I don't know. Maybe it goes back to Neanderthal days. You know, Ugg went out there and got the mastodon skull and brought it back and go, Ugg want this in cave. By the way, that is accurate Neanderthal language. It took me decades to learn it, so please appreciate it. Comments below. But one of the things I want to talk about is this whole emulation factor of style, the James Bond lifestyle. Now, who wouldn't want good food, good drink, good locations like I talked about, travel, amazing cars, wonderful style, nice watches, all the trappings and tropes that we've learned through James Bond. The whole idea that James Bond loves life, because tomorrow it's murder for breakfast. And it could be him that's murdered. So he lives life to the fullest. Fleming taught us that, if he taught us nothing. And one of the things that we can do is pass down to our generations as fathers, this whole idea of the Bond lifestyle is not about necessarily shoot 'em ups and spying, and it can be about all these wonderful trappings in life, living life to the fullest, not about luxury or spending money, but taking an appreciation of each moment. Living Bond, one moment at a time. Remember the tagline of the Bond Experience? That is something that I, as a father, have been very proud to pass down to my children, my relatives, and I experience as a father on a regular basis. Yes, fathers can do it too. So anyway, I hope, if nothing else, you've watched this video and potentially said to your son and daughter, why did I assume you had both? Hey, come on in here. You remember that crazy guy that I talked to you about on YouTube? Yeah, that one. Yes, the one that mom doesn't like because he makes me spend some money. Yeah, that one. Come in here. He's got a really cool video. It's not that long. Don't worry, it's not going to kill you, on James Bond. But it gets to the heart of how I feel about being a father, or having a father, or being introduced to the James Bond world by my father. And I want you to experience it now, just to get a little glimpse, peeling the onion, right? Just ripping apart the avocado and seeing the gushy inside of my brain and my psyche. And I hope that was helpful. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to have an amazing Father's Day. Amazing Father's Day. And it wouldn't kill you. And I think you're allowed to today. Pretty sure. It wouldn't kill you to go to your family and say, you know something, what I would like to do today? Besides the hamburgers and hot dogs and bourbon, I would like to watch a James Bond movie. My choice. And I'd like you to all watch it with me. And let's talk about it. Let's have fun. Let's laugh. Let's cajole each other. What do you say, folks? James Bond film? I think today you might be able to get away with it. I dare say. Hope you have fun with it. Hope you had fun with this video. I'm going to head out because literally I do have to pack for the south of France. Did I tell you? Not going to be around my kids for Father's Day? Yeah. Father of the Year, doing parenting right. Me, this guy. Anyway, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Happy Father's Day, and I'll see you real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.